アウラ自害者
I'll have to ask my accountant about that.
Greetings, fellow mortals. Just a reminder saying it's just my opinion is for cowards. For the past month or so, I've seen a very interesting phenomena on social media where people are questioning if making an evil species is in fact lazy writing. And the answer to the question is maybe, it depends, it's complicated. Can it be lazy? Yes. Is it always? No. And a lot of the arguments I've seen right now has to do with one particular anime. Frieren follows an immortal elf after the battle with the Demon King. The story revolves around her watching the world around her change and the people that she cares about pass away because they do not have her extended lifespan. Meanwhile, the main antagonists are the remainder of the Demon King's army, and every single one of them is a demon, and the show makes it specifically clear that they are not like humanity or the other species at all. Every show of empathy, compassion, and kindness is just a tool to lower people's guards so the demons can delight in killing them. Which makes sense because, you know, they're demons, fallen angels meant to bring ruin to everything around them.
You're the bad guy?
Or, well, girl.
But there's also no denying that this is an easy tool for writing. Unless it's dark fiction, writers generally don't want you to feel like you're following the bad guy. And if the writer wants to make a general hero's journey, with the protagonist cutting through waves of enemies, there are tools to make it so that the audience doesn't feel guilty about it. And generally speaking, that's why most enemies in fiction are just nameless nobodies with their faces covered. Or they could be demons, they could be robots, or they could be the undead, mainly zombies.
Ed!
If you want an obvious example, look at the 1997 game Carmageddon, which could not release in Europe until the developers changed the entire game so that you were running over zombies with green blood instead of people with red blood. Look at every single zombie story that you've ever seen. By the end, do the protagonists really care about putting an end to the undead? No, not really, because the body should be dead already. You're just stopping them from moving. Zombies are just sheep that do what you generally expect them to do. That's why in those types of tales, the humans are actually the real threat.
I've been bitten, you stupid pricks! I'm tainting meat.
It's very simple. Killing zombies, no one has a problem with it. Killing people that are still alive, that's when things get a little iffy. It's when you get into the area in between with species that look human that things become more complicated, like with the demons, but also there could be other species like the orcs or goblins. In Lord of the Rings, waves upon waves of orcs get slaughtered, and it's completely okay because they're the servants of the evil Sauron. The orcs are shown to be more beast than man, which makes you feel a lot better when you see a bunch of them die. Or there's always the option of goblins from Dungeons and Dragons and everything inspired by D&D. Generally speaking, green skin, pointed ears, bulbous nose, extended belly, then it's probably going to be an evil species. Even I play with that trope with my own series written in stone.
You must walk home naked, dragging behind you the stone of shame.
Of course, I don't use that trope completely straight. I play with it. I twist it. I want to take your expectations and divert them just a little bit. Not enough to completely make you mad, but enough to make you think. And this is where I think the conversation originates. The evil species is a trope that's so overused that you might consider it a cliche at this point.
You've seen this before? 11 times, as a matter of fact.
Which is why this trope is played with in Starship Troopers and Helldivers 2. The assumption being that the only way for humanity to completely unite together would be if they had a common foe. Propaganda from the super government has convinced everyone that these alien bugs are completely evil, even though technically we're the ones invading them, so they would probably see us as the bad guy. But I might argue that the parody and the themes behind the idea fall a little flat when both series goes out of their way to make killing aliens seem super fun. And this, my friends, is what we call cognitive dissonance in fiction, where two themes or ideas conflict with each other.
Does that make sense? Ladies and gentlemen, I am not making any sense. None of this makes sense.
In both of those series, they tried to humanize the aliens by giving the bugs a human thought process. But there's no guaranteeing that another sapient species would think the exact same way as us. Just look at The Mercy of Gods. Why did I never take this sticker off? Am I afraid that it's gonna hurt the cover or something? Without too many spoilers, the book follows a group of humans as they interact with different alien species. And every single creature that they meet has a different thought process and different values.
I can't understand your accent.
In fact, one of the biggest obstacles that the protagonists need to overcome is their inability to understand anyone else around them. This isn't just culture shock, where if someone from the United States went to a different country. No, that's completely different. These aliens do not think or feel the same way as humanity itself. Any attempt to personify, empathize, or assume the best intentions of the alien species always results in humanity suffering in that book. Which points out a flaw in our thinking. No other species is guaranteed to have the same values of humanity as a whole, including a species that we created ourselves, such as AI.
Unit has an inquiry.
What is it, 431?
Do these units have a soul?
Now, AI is still a very long way away from having the complexity of the human brain, but we're still poking that bear right now. Can and will AI eventually break the laws of robotics? I don't know, but we sure do like writing a bunch of stories about it. Just look at the AIs from Cyberpunk, from Terminator, from Space Odyssey, and many other examples where the creations find the creators wanting.
Is that it?
Oh, no. Ah, good. You also get this leather-bound set of encyclopedias.
Considering that we are a long ways away from completely understanding our own brains, there's probably not a big chance of AI just breaking out of control, but if it did, it could evolve way past the point of being controlled. Artificial life, which views organic life as something that needs to be wiped away, which is why robots make such a perfect enemy in fiction. Oh no, these soulless machines want to slaughter us, so let's just mow them down in a spray of metal and oil. Unless, of course, that is not completely the case.
What is my purpose?
You pass butter.
Oh my god.
Yeah, welcome to the club, pal.
Look at examples from AI in fiction from Her, from Chappie, from Mass Effect, or even from WALL-E. These forms of robots learned from their creators, so any form of violence or negativity directed at organic species was learned from organic species themselves. In these types of stories, AI learn from us, they adapt to us, they want to be like us, and they appreciate us.
It's not your fault.
So hating and killing them is just a reflection of humanity itself. In many ways, these types of stories are closer to a parent-children relationship than anything else, which is a unique twist on an already established formula. Oh, the robot is out to kill humanity. Well, it's humanity's fault. Who do you think they learned it from?
What have you become?
I am what you made me.
A twist to the formula can also be used for demons. They don't necessarily need to be completely evil like in Frieren. Perhaps, and this isn't an attack on anyone's religion, in fiction they could in fact function as the antagonists, but they're not necessarily evil. Perhaps it's just their job to tempt and to torture humanity. Just look at something like the Book of Job from the Bible itself. God allowed Satan to ruin Job's entire life as a way to test his faith.
Whoa, this is heavy. There's that word again, heavy. Why are things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull? What?
Perhaps in fiction that could be a demon's role. They were created and appointed to be the antagonist to humanity. They could work a 9 to 5 where their job is just to tempt and to torture humanity, but it's really just a Wreck-It Ralph situation. Someone has to be the bad guy, but it doesn't mean that you're a bad guy.
I am bad, and that's good. I will never be good, and that's not bad. There's no one I'd rather be than me.
And this is where I would bring up The Good Place, because I can never let an excuse to talk about one of my favorite shows go to waste. I'm going to try to avoid spoilers here, but there are demons in the bad place where their entire job is to create torture methods for bad humans. And unlike humans, they're never going to be punished for their actions. They are around specifically in order to make humanity's existence miserable. And when they interact with higher powers, the people in charge do get annoyed with the demons, but they never chastise the demons for doing their job.
It's delayed. Oh no. Anyway, last week...
It's their role, they can't help it. But at the same time, they are shown that they can develop a sense of empathy for others. And this is where I think the idea of evil species being lazy comes from. There are a lot of ways to twist a trope in order to make it new, to make it unique, to make it fresh. I think that's partially where the frustration comes in, where someone looks at an already established trope, sees all the different ways that it could go, but then see it played straight again and again and get frustrated with it. But while I might be able to understand why you would think it was lazy, I don't particularly agree with coding theory.
Don't try to talk me out of it. I'm sure it's completely... Nope, never again.
I don't want to get into it all that much, but coding is the theory that different races and species in fiction represent people with different skin color. And who knows with different pieces of fiction, but I'm skeptical of it with Tolkien's work and with Dungeons and Dragons. For example, Orcs from Lord of the Rings. While he changed his mind many different times about their origins and the lore, he did always consistently come up with the idea that they were corrupted versions of already established creatures, such as elves or humans.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal.
And considering that a lot of his themes in The Lord of the Rings is racism is bad, I don't think he meant for the orcs to represent anything in real life. Could someone take his work and corrupt it? Oh, completely. I will not defend anyone like that, but I will not accept Tolkien slander.
What did you just say, Bill?
Now, if you look at it from today's lens, is The Lord of the Rings by the numbers? Yeah, because it's the original, it's the foundation of everything. You'd be hard-pressed to find any form of fantasy that wasn't inspired by The Lord of the Rings, just a little bit, from Harry Potter to metaphor Refantazio. And that game actually had a unique form of enemy. There were giant monsters roaming the land that everyone called humans. I won't give you any spoilers, but I want you to come up with 5 theories about humans and the different tribes in the game, and one of them is probably right. While I absolutely adore the game and all of the characters in it, there's no denying that it's kind of predictable. I always knew exactly what was going to happen next, and there was in fact an evil species, the giant evil humans, meaning that some people would consider that lazy. After all, there was no redemption for the evil species. They were just a threat that needed to be taken care of.
Wow, that's messed up. I'm sorry. Go on.
So it really just depends on what the writer is trying to do. There can easily be an evil species out there trying to wipe out all life. That is completely okay. Does it make the creator lazy? No, it just depends on what story they're trying to tell. Any story you see that has a completely evil species is probably about people coming together to unite against a common threat, where all the characters need to set aside their preconceptions and unite in order to defend everything that they care about.
Today we are canceling the apocalypse!
While on the other hand, stuff like Starship Troopers or Mass Effect point out that you shouldn't completely dehumanize your opposition because they might not be the evil monsters that you think they are. Each story is trying to say the same exact thing but in a different way. Empathy and understanding is good. And to be fair, there are stories out there where there's an evil species that is completely lazy, but you can say the exact same thing about the reversal of the trope.
Yellow card.
The unit reversed.
His Uno reversed it. That's a first.
I want you to look at different species on this planet alone. Alligators and sharks. If they gained sapience right now, they would not think the same way as us. They would still view us as meat. Anthropomorphism is the tendency of humanity to insert its own characteristics into animals and to inanimate objects. But even if we love them, they probably don't love us. If you have a pet snake, it would eat you if it was big enough. If you were around an alligator, if it was hungry, it would eat you. If you were out in the middle of the ocean and you were bleeding, a shark would probably come out to find you. Even your cats. I want you to be honest with me here. If you died, how long do you think it would take before your cat treated you like food? Probably not that long. Assuming humanity in something that isn't human can be a deadly mistake.
Oh my god. I am never gonna financially recover from this.
And I think that's what Frieren is trying to say more than anything. That just because something might appear to have humanity in them doesn't mean that they do. In this series, demons absolutely delight in killing every other species out there. It is their sole reason for existing is to slaughter the innocent. They're closer to human sociopaths and psychopaths compared to anything else. They may look human, they may sound human, but if they got the chance, they would just totally kill you. Sometimes there's just plain evil in the world, and you do have to be able to recognize it. Just look at stuff like Baldur's Gate 3, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and The Exorcist, all of which feature evil demons. Even if the main characters have their own problems and are far from perfect, every single one of those series make sure that you know that demon equals bad, and every single one of them are critically acclaimed for their writing. They're not lazy at all. You see, there's a reason why a deal with the devil still has a negative connotation to it even to this day. If a fictional species is stronger than humans by far, what's stopping them from viewing us as prey, just like every single predator on this planet?
If I am to change this image, I must first change myself. Fish are friends, not food.
If an alien species that had 100 times the firepower compared to us attacked Earth in order to make us their food or their slaves, what would we do besides lose? Both in The Mercy of Gods and in War of the Worlds, there was no talking to the invaders. You just had to fight back and most likely die. Should you at least try to use your words and de-escalate a situation? Of course, but if there is a greater threat that thinks that they have power over you and is going to wipe you out, you really don't have any other option. This makes me curious about that one tweet that I referenced. Was this a dude that said it? Yeah, it was a dude. Oh, okay, that explains a lot. As someone who's trained in martial arts for a long time, I've worked women's self-defense workshops. And there are a lot of stories out there. There are in fact a lot of evil men out there. And that's when you grab something heavy and smack them upside the head until they let you go. And if you can identify a threat that's not going to stop, then you probably need to stop them. Even if it's an eventual AI that actually gains self-awareness. Even if the AI is actually alive. Even if it has a soul. If it wants to be like AM from I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, it should probably be deleted. Usually a sense of compassion and understanding and forgiveness is a good thing, but other times it's not.
Save us. I'll whisper, no.
I could name you countless stories where there is just an evil threat that needs to be stopped at all costs, and there's no possible chance at redeeming them. Is that lazy, or is it just lazy when you do demons, or AI, or orcs, or goblins, or invading aliens? There can definitely be a quote-unquote evil species in fiction without it being lazy or discriminatory. It could just be that this different species looks down on humanity because we're weaker than them. Or maybe even they think that we're evil for contaminating our planet, so they're trying to wipe us out.
My name is Norm. The enemy of the platypus is man.
You see, there are countless ways to do a story where another species is the antagonist. Is every single one going to be great? No, but that doesn't mean that the trope in and of itself is lazy. Sure, there are plenty of movies or shows or books where the author is just going to line up a bunch of aliens, a bunch of robots, a bunch of orcs, and just have the heroes just cut through waves upon waves of them. Why? Because they needed an action scene, and in that case, yeah, it can be a little bit lazy. Like I said at the start of this video, it is an easy way to make sure that the audience doesn't feel bad about the action scenes.
Oh, I made myself sad.
If the opposition has no face, as their face covered is generally humanoid or is a bloodthirsty monster, yeah, they just want a bunch of fodder. But if a story is going out of its way to tell you why a species is acting a certain way, you should probably listen to it instead of assuming the worst possible intentions. And I can understand that it can be frustrating. I look at the sequel Star Wars trilogy and wonder what were they thinking with Finn and the Stormtroopers. They had pure gold there, where Finn trained to become a Jedi and demonstrated to the Stormtroopers that they weren't just nameless fodder, that they could be more, that they shouldn't just be servants to the dark side of the Force. I'm a Star Wars hater, and even I think that's a brilliant idea.
Oh, it's so obvious! I would have never thought of that!
So to answer the question, is writing an evil species lazy? No, not really. It just depends on what the creator is trying to do. And speaking for myself, I would much prefer if the opposition remained completely evil than having some terrible redemption arc that really doesn't make any sense. Why did you slaughter all of these innocents and commit all of these war crimes? I was sad because this one person died. Well, that doesn't excuse anything. If someone can't be nuanced, then they should probably stick with the battle between the forces of good and evil. But what do you think? Have you seen or read any of the examples that I've given? Do you prefer nuance? Do you prefer the battle against the forces of good and evil? Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And remember, if you disagree with everything I have to say, that is perfectly fine. After all, everyone is entitled to their objectively wrong opinion.
If there be one among you who does not follow the way of the schnitzel, let that one go, and do not throw bowling balls at them. It's a matter of interpretation.
Thank you all so much for watching.
You're still here?
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. You bye. Boom.
Do not despair.